And welcome back to another episode of the 2026 club season previews. I am joined by none other than the man himself, Wobble and Jaw Sports, for another collab. How are we, Sammy?
G'day, man. I'm doing really well. How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing really well. Very well, actually. And to the right-hand side of us, as we normally do, it is the Newcastle Knights that Sam and I will be covering here in episode 10. And like we always do, Sam, let's get straight into it, mate. And let's touch on the 2025 campaign for the Newcastle Knights. And as we can see here, it got off to a bang, Sam, in round one. Took down the West Tigers 10 points to 8. They then continued the winning form, Sam, and were able to take down the Dolphins, a top 8 or just outside a top 8 team. The Dolphins were took them down 26 points to 12. Unfortunately, they could not keep the win streak going, and when going up to the Gold Coast in round 3, went down 26 points to 6. They then had the bye round in round 4, so two wins from 3 games. Not the worst. I guess you pick up the bye. So that's what they've scored 6 points in 4 weeks. So, basically faultless by the one round. So pretty good start there for Newcastle. But unfortunately, that was probably one of the good talking points of the season, unfortunately, for Newcastle, because it went south very quickly. Round 5, 20-0 loss against the Doggies. Round 6, the Tigers get revenge, 20 points to 4 in round 6. The Knights go down. The Knights go down again to the Cronulla Sharks, 34 points to 14 in round 7. They then go over the ditch to New Zealand and go down 26 points to 12. That is, if you exclude the bye, 5 losses in a row. Thank God. In round 9, they get it back together and get a good win against South Sydney, 30 points to 4. Unfortunately, in round 10, they could not get the victory royale and get a bit of revenge on the Gold Coast Titans. They go down 24 points to 20 in that one. They then go down to Parramatta, 28 points to 6 in round 11. They beat Penrith. That was a very injury-affected game, wasn't it, Sammy? 25 points to 6, they took down Penrith.
Yep.
So that they got over what they had. They had 2 losses in a row there, and were luckily able to not go into a bad slump again, and they were able to get the victory there over Penrith. Round 13, they go down to St. George, 20 points to 6, pardon me. They then strike back and get the win over Manly, 26 points to 22, Sam. They then go down to the Sydney Roosters in round 15, 12 points to 8, a close loss there against a top 8 side, Sam. Round 16, they got the two-peat over the Dolphins, the Newcastle Knights in season 2025. Beat the Dolphins 26 points to 20 in round 16. They then just go down in a close one. So they, go down by 4 points to the Roosters in round 15 and go down to the eventual minor premiers by 4 points, 22 points to 18 in round 17. They then have a bye. After the bye, they verse the Melbourne Storm and they go down 32 points to 14 in round 19. The Warriors get the two-peat over Newcastle in season 2025. They beat the Knights 20 points to 15 in round 20. What have you got to say, Sam?
Boss, I think, in my opinion anyway, you see the 32 to 14 loss there to the Melbourne Storm. Throughout the first 3 quarters of the 2025 season, there was a 20 points to 6 loss, a 34 to 14 loss and all that. They got dealt with rather handedly in those games, the scoreline would suggest, but they were still rather plucky, the Newcastle Knights. They were close to the Canberra Raiders and close to pipping the New Zealand Warriors in an upset here. But this result is where the balloon burst for the Newcastle Knights. Their defense wasn't bad. It was stout. It was what was keeping them somewhat in touch with the top 8. but it was this loss here and for the rest of the season where you could tell or identify that that's where the Newcastle Knights just lost everything. They were exhausted. I don't want to say given up, but they were listless for the rest of the year from this loss onwards against the New Zealand Warriors.
Oh, okay. From the New Zealand Warriors. I was going to say not another team that Melbourne had spiraled out of control after our last two episodes.
Because there was a point there in that game against the Storm where the Knights, I think, had the lead or they had equalised through the Melbourne Storm. Like, I think their first half was rather plucky. So there was still a bit of fight there. But for the rest of the year after the New Zealand Warriors loss, there wasn't a truckload of fight from this Newcastle Knights outfit.
No, and it doesn't look good at all. Round 21 went down 44 points to 18 to the Raiders. They had the round 22 bye. They then went down 48 points to 12 in round 23. They then went up to North Queensland and got their ass handed to them, 38 points to 4 against the Cowboys in round 24. They then had the Broncos come down for a visit, and the Broncos trampled over them 46 points to 12 in that one in round 25. Holy shit. I didn't realize it. You were right, Sam. Like, you nailed it right on the head. That is, they've conceded nearly 40 points every game since round 21. Anyway, round 26, they went to the Shire and again, as per form of the last few weeks, went down 40 points to 16 to Cronulla. And then it ended the season on one hell of a mark, unfortunately, for Newcastle. They conceded 66 points, nearly hit Sam's magical mark of 70 points that he has been waiting for a long time. They went very close. But man, oh man, 66 points to 10 to finish the season off, Sam. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 heavy losses in 7 weeks. 6 from 6 in regards to games that they actually played, if you exclude the bye. But that's 6 losses in a row there. And then it happens up here as well. They go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They went 5 losses, or technically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so they had 5 losses in 6 weeks and then 6 losses in 7 weeks throughout the season. That's 6 losses in 7 weeks to end the season. The 5 losses in 6 weeks is like probably just before the middle part of the season, Sam. That is really rough season. And like you said, after that Warriors game where they went down in fighting fashion, it was all too much. Whether it was to do with the coach and whatnot, now that they've got Adam O'Brien is no longer there and they've got Justin Holbrook now at the helm at Newcastle. But yeah, with that Titans win in that final game to send Foreign off a winner, that actually got the Titans to 16th place and handed the Newcastle Knights the wooden spoon for season 2025. Sam, I know you chipped in there a little bit in that 2025 review there, but is there anything else you want to say apart from after that Warriors close loss that the floodgates sort of opened?
Yeah. I think their best win of the season was the game against the Dolphins, 26-12. They commanded the Dolphins, especially in that first half, and kind of put the cue in the rack in the second. But I thought that was probably close to their best 80-minute performance of the entire season. Their most exciting victory of the year was the one against Manly Sea Eagles, where it was young Fletcher Hunt that batted it back infield to Kalen Ponga to get the win in Golden Point extra time. And just in that period there, in that month, they just beat Manly. They went down to the Roosters 12 points to 8. And if memory serves me correctly, there was a very controversial call that gifted the Roosters a try, if I'm not mistaken. Then they did go over to Perth, pipped the Dolphins, and then they hosted the Raiders. And as you said before, they got very close. So they found a nice bit of fight in that month where they could have taken down Easts in what was an Origin affected game, and they could have taken down the Canberra Raiders as well. For what was the worst attacking team of 2025, there was definitely some exciting moments that the Newcastle Knights provided for sure. But unfortunately, the main thing that I will remember 2025 for the Newcastle Knights is not just their attack. It was that famous loss to the New Zealand Warriors.
Yeah, look, Sam, I think we need to just speak a little bit on what you just said. As you can see highlighted in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen to my right, Sam and I's right-hand side, 338 points scored for the season. There is no one else in the 300-point bracket. The next worst attacking team was South Sydney, which is nearly 100 more there. I think quick maths, that's what, 89 points to the better. 338 points, especially with that backline. I know there was a lot of injuries, but you could just see that there was something not right, whether it was something to do with Adam O'Brien and getting through to the players, or if it was, just due to the fact that they really missed Ponga that dearly. I think also another point, to be honest, is just the constant changes in the spine for Newcastle throughout the season. They had no 6-7 lock every week. When I say 6-7, like locked down every week, it was like, there was a different, variations of Cogger and Gamble and Hastings and, Cogger and Crossland, and I could go on for days. And it's just, then there was, the interchanging between Crossland and Brayley in the 9, not as bad as the 6-7, as the 6-7 combination, but it's I had to do it. Sorry. Look, that can't help at all. And they had, big injuries to, key players like, Best, Ponga, just to name a couple of key major players for the Newcastle Knights team that missed a lot of time. I think Leo Thompson missed a bit of time. Dylan Lucas went down there and missed the rest of the season there at the back end. It was not good for Newcastle in a lot of categories. But last thing before I let you just say a few words, Sam, is, they scored the worst, or like the least amount of points for in 338, which was 89 less than the next. And then they've conceded the third most points defensively behind, obviously the Titans took the cherry with that one with 719. But there's a 300 difference between their points for and their points against. That has to be some sort of record, because I cannot remember it being negative 300. Negative 300 in their for and against. That is just, it was just not a good year at all for Newcastle in season 2025, Sam.
Yeah, no, it was not an ideal year. There was also the drama off field where half of the players, including coach Adam O'Brien, was off Jackson Hastings, and it was pretty evident that Jackson Hastings would have helped out, maybe not a hell of a lot, but would have helped out. But you're right that the constant changing in the half situation, Jack Cogger, Gamble, Hastings, Crossland at a time, that nothing was ever settled up there in the Hunter Valley in 2025. And yeah, just some young players that sort of, found out the hard way about how tough first grade is as well. Didn't help towards the back end of the year. And you say that, we saw there that it's minus 300 for 2025. And again, I will say again that the defense actually was stout throughout the first 3 quarters. So
yeah,
it was dramatic. They leaked, I guess, 6 games they lost by 40 points, or leaked 40 points. I mean, we're looking at
average for
Yeah,
like
like
6 weeks. Yeah.
yeah, it's like 200 to 250 points that they leaked inside the final 6 weeks of the campaign. So the damage really was done inside that final period of the season.
I think another point now that I think of it, Sam, for a turning point as well was just let me find it. It was when this one here, this game where they beat the Dolphins at HBF Park. This was the game where they lost probably he was there by far their best player in the spark of the Hunter, which was Fletcher Sharpedo or Fletcher Sharp. He was outstanding and he suffered a
Absolutely.
real serious injury in this game, which forced him actually to stay back in Perth. I'm pretty sure, it was that bad of an injury that, you would,
I want to
if someone just came into the hospital with this injury, you would assume that they've had a serious car crash. It was
I I
to that
want
extent.
to say it. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I think it was like a lacerated liver or something lacerated. It's the same injury that retired poor old Justin O'Neill. He did that against the Canberra Raiders back in 2019. I remember it, and I think Fletcher Sharp suffered the same thing.
Yeah, you can see here sharp pain. I'm just trying to see. Just trying to see. Oh, there you go. Oh, yeah, lacerated kidney and
Kidney.
damaged spleen.
Yeah, oh, spleen. That's the one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I was trying to think of.
So
No, poor
yeah,
bagger.
that was a huge loss for
And he
Newcastle.
was good, wasn't he? He was very good throughout the year.
He was outstanding, outstanding, Sam, as I said. But I guess a thing that I think, yes, it was a horrible season for Newcastle in season 2025, but there is some positives. Yes, Sam and I have been pretty ruthless here, but there is some positives coming out of the Hunter. Yes, it's probably not massive positives, but the experience that some young players got for Newcastle, I thought was massive. We saw Jermaine McEwen play a lot more football than he ever had. I'm pretty sure he played 14 games in season 2025. We saw Kyle McCarthy play a fair bit as well in the centres there for Newcastle. We saw Fletcher Hunt. Sam alluded to him before. Very talented youngster, great in the air. He'll definitely be one. Some real positives out of the Hunter. And, there were some more as well. But man, there wasn't a great season, but there are some positives and there is some good young talent coming through for Newcastle. Some of those names that I mentioned will be, regulars in years to come in Newcastle or in the NRL. But let's move to the 2026 gains and losses. And unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, we did have a bit of a smaller one in the last episode, but this one is, yes, there is a lot. So let's get straight into it, Sam. I think let's touch on the losses. Let's go the ones which aren't too major. So that's Taj Annan, who's gone to the Western Force in rugby union. Obviously, Jake Arthur went from Newcastle to Manly, and then he's gone Manly to, or did he go Manly to Newcastle? Now I'm
I think
trying
it
to
was
think.
Manly to Newcastle.
Yeah, and then now he's gone Newcastle to Hull.
Yep.
So yeah, that one not as significant. Brock, I think it's I think Greekin has gone over to Castleford Tigers. I think Brock actually played. He got his NRL debut in season 2025. Riley Jones has gone to the Sharks. Jai Linen has gone over to the Warriors, and I think the Warriors are pretty chuffed with Jai. From what I've heard, pretty sure the Warriorholic was pretty keen on Jai. And then probably Sebastian Sewer. He really didn't play too much at all for the Newcastle Knights. And Tyrone Thompson, the brother of Leo Thompson, has gone back to rugby union. So Sebastian Sewer went to the Dolphins, by the way. Will Price, I think we moved to him. I don't know what happened with Will Price. I don't know if Adam O'Brien didn't like him or there was the playing group didn't like him. I don't know, but man, he just went straight back to the Super League and started tearing them apart.
He showed
He
some
was
Milo in his games,
he
didn't he?
I he did, and I didn't understand this one at all. I don't know how he wasn't playing for the periods there that he wasn't actually getting into the team. I thought they had to find a way to get Will Price into the starting team, but they couldn't. Let's keep moving up. We'll keep on the main ones. We'll come back. Like Jack Hetherington, touched on him. Look, didn't really work out in Newcastle. Didn't really play much at all for the Knights. Had a fair few games or a couple of games here and there, but just didn't really work out in Newcastle at all. And then Paul Bryan, you touched on Paul. Pardon me, Sam, in the Manly podcast. A good pickup for Paul Bryan, and just like Brock Greeken, Paul also got his debut in season 2025 for Newcastle. So they're sort of not the major sort of losses. They were in around Newcastle, played, a couple of games here and there, all good youngsters, but couldn't be retained by Newcastle or have gone for an opportunity elsewhere. Now, the big losses in regards to names, position, and whatnot, Jaden Brayley, hooker there for Newcastle, has been and captain as well for a few years over the past few years. So he'll be a big loss there, relying really heavily on Phoenix Crossland really to break out in regards to, being a hooker. Crosland's been very solid when he's played and done a job, works his ass off. But now there's a lot more of responsibility with Phoenix Crosland in season 2026 with the Brayley departure. Jack Cogger. The Jack Cogger that I saw in 2023 was not the same Jack Cogger that I saw in Newcastle. Didn't really work out when he returned back to Newcastle. And I don't know. I don't think it helped him either with all the constant changing in the spine. He probably had like a new halves partner every week. It just didn't really help out. And unfortunately, you don't play with Nathan Cleary every week at Newcastle. And, the constant changing of spines there, I'm sure didn't help Jack. I think not as bad of a loss as Jaden Brayley, with the utmost respect to Jack Cogger, but still a loss there. Adam Elliott, I think this is a loss. This one's, I think, worse than the other two. Look, Adam Elliott didn't really play too much in season 2025. He missed a lot of time with injury. But with the amount of players that Newcastle have lost on this list, and I just don't know how they didn't want to keep someone like Adam Elliott there. He'd be starting lock, I reckon, for Newcastle in season 2026 if he was still in the Hunter. So that one I feel is a bit of a loss, Sam, for me. But the big ones, very, very, very self-explanatory. It is Mr. Kai Pearce-Paul and Mr. Leo Thompson. I think the biggest is Leo Thompson. I think their middle depth in Newcastle is a bit worse than their edge depth. They've got like Dylan Lucas, Brodie Jones, McEwen, etc. So while the Pearce-Paul loss is significant, I don't think it's as bad as the Leo Thompson one. You're relying, heavily on, Saifidi. Like Frizzell looks like he's moving into the middle in the lock position. And, new recruit as well that we're going to touch on soon, Trey Mooney. Like there's a lot of pressure there for the middle forwards, Sam. So it'll be very interesting to see how they go. But a few words from you, mate, on the 2026 losses for the Newcastle Knights.
No, honestly, you've covered it all off there. So I agree with you that Leo Thompson is their biggest loss. For me, Kai Pearce-Paul never really exploded with the Newcastle Knights. Yeah, he had a few good games, but never really grabbed the ball by the horns, in my opinion. That's probably because he was still trying to find his feet in Australia. And then, yeah, Jaden Brayley, former captain of Newcastle Knights, I think he was finding some old form again throughout 2025. I thought he had some really nice games, but yeah, it's an extensive list, man. It pretty much cleaned out, hasn't it?
Yeah. It's also was, consistency as well for Jaden Brayley. He was actually able to stay on the park as well, which is a real positive for the Canberra Raiders in season 2026, getting someone like Jaden Brayley down there to help out, the Owen Paddies and Tom Starlings of the world. Even if Brayley doesn't play, his leadership and knowledge of the game will be massive for those youngsters. So, look, why did Jaden Brayley go to Canberra, or why did Canberra sign Jaden Brayley? I have no beeping idea. I do believe that is a horrible signing, especially with how Tom Starling played in season 2025 and with Owen Paddy, but we will save that for the Raiders podcast. Anyway, let's get to the game. Some positives. Oh, and the man of the moment, Dylan Brown. He moved to Newcastle. It took a little while to get in and settle into Newcastle, but he settled in and then he jetted over across the ditch over to the Kiwis, and must have just been that Newcastle air, feeling the sand and the waves, bro. He went over to Newcastle, over to New Zealand, should I say, after, a week in Newcastle, moving in, and he absolutely destroyed the competition in the Pacific Championships. I don't know how he did not get the Golden Boot, considering the T's and C's for the Golden Boot. He was bloody outstanding. And, mate, if he can play like that for the Newcastle Knights, even with this week, weaker forward pack to some teams, man, they've still got a very classy backline, the Newcastle Knights. And if Dylan Brown can steer these young forwards around the park, wowee, oh man, he was so good for the Kiwis, Sam. And look, it's a big deal for Dylan Brown at the Newcastle Knights. And unfortunately, when you come to a club on a big deal, the eyes and the spotlight goes straight to you. I am pretty sure he's on over $1 million a season for a very, very long time. Dylan Brown, Sam, I am very excited to see, with the likes of the partnerships that he can form with the Newcastle spine, especially Caitlin Ponga.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to save the conversation until we get into our team list, but 1.3 million he is on. It is the richest deal in NRL history. It's a 10-year deal that Dylan Brown is on, and without going too much into it, he had I would say, an unhappy 2025, a frustrating season he had for the Parramatta Eels. I would say that getting dropped and then coming back probably made things a little bit more sweet, but ultimately things were bittersweet for Dylan Brown. He lost form and then found a little bit of it in the final, month or so of the competition, and then he's obviously heard all the talk about him and the deal that he signed because, yeah, he came out breathing fire in that Pacific Championships tournament. And I'm with you too, man. I don't know how he didn't get the Golden Boot. He was extraordinary.
I just think don't hate me, Parramatta fans, but I think you could argue that this could be potentially what Dylan Brown might have needed in his career, go somewhere fresh and start again. His combination with Moses, he missed Moses at the start of last year. There was so much pressure on him. He then ended up signing the deal with the Newcastle Knights. And I just think that it's still going to be, there's going to be a hell, if not more pressure than what there was on him at Newcastle than there was at the Eels. But I just think I've got this feeling that just after that, moving to Newcastle and then going for that Kiwis campaign, Sam, I just think that this could be it for Dylan Brown. I actually think he'll have a cracking season 2026. Will it be enough to really spearhead the Knights up the ladder? I'm not sure, but I think Dylan Brown will have a good year and might not play to 1.3 million a season, Sam, but definitely, pay to a good pay packet, I reckon. Play to a good pay packet for Dylan Brown in season 2026. Peter Holler has come down from the Dolphins, as you can see there in the middle. Asu Kapoa he went from the Tigers to the Panthers and now has gone to Newcastle. Trey Mooney, where probably this is the third best signing for Newcastle in this offseason, but in regards to importance, it's probably maybe second in regards to my rankings of the best off-season signings for the Newcastle Knights for season 2026. Huge signing. Trey Mooney is a quality player that just struggled to get in behind such a great forward pack down in Canberra. This man will play every game if he's healthy for Newcastle and probably start every game too. He is a quality footballer, Trey Mooney, and I am very keen to see how he goes. I think he'll play big minutes, 60 minutes, probably 50, 60 minutes a game for Newcastle, and I think Trey Mooney is going to be great in season 2026. Pasami Saulo, Sam, he returns. Big Pasami returns to the Hunter. Very lovely Pasami Saulo coming back, and with the lack of middle depth that Newcastle have, could find himself in the in and around and playing some first grade football in season 2026 for the Newcastle Knights. I actually definitely see him playing some football for the Knights in season 2026. He barely played at all for the Raiders. He was worse than Trey Mooney in regards to getting a crack down in Canberra. So we wish both those Canberrians, Canberrians in regards to where they have come from last season, all the best in season 2026 for the Raiders. And then the man, Sandon Smith. Sando has made his way up from Sydney to Newcastle. And look, we'll go into Sandon Smith in our team list because it is very interesting to see where Sando will actually play. I am still I'm still unsure to say where he will be playing. But regardless, I think it's a great signing and a great opportunity for Sandon Smith. I think they've got a bit of a Titans problem. I'm not going to lie. The Newcastle Knights when it comes to spine and fullback issues. But let's save that for the team list, Sam. Your thoughts on the 2026 games? I think maybe another couple of forwards they could have got, but otherwise I think that's a pretty good list of players that they've brought in for season 2026 with the outgoing players.
100%. I agree with that sentiment. Very excited to talk about Sandon Smith. I think where they might need to look for in the future is maybe a dummy half. No disrespect to Phoenix Crossland. He used to be a halfback. What do you mean? What do you mean? Am I looking at him?
Are you looking at Sandon Smith? Is that what
as
I'm
a hooker? Oh, yeah. Cheeky. No, not yet. Maybe. What I was going to say about Crossland though is that I actually like Crossland.
I like Crossland too. Yep.
Oh, at lock. I like the idea of Crossland being at lock as well, but he's just so versatile. Phoenix Crossland, he can do a job for you at freaking fullback if you asked him to. So no, it's a good crop of gains there for the Newcastle Knights.
Well, you think about it, Sam. You could move Crossland into lock, move Frizzell onto the bench, and then you could also put like Sandon Smith or someone like that in at hooker. We'll touch on this. This Newcastle team list could be a lengthy one in regards to discussions, ladies and gentlemen. But let's move on to your neck of the woods, Sam, into the 2026 train and trial / development list for the Newcastle Knights for season 2026. And we start off, Sam, with a familiar face from the Dolphins, mate.
Yeah, we do, man. It's a smaller list in comparison to the other ones. So the first four names are all on development contracts, and the first name is Mr. Harrison Graham, and he will fit in at hooker. I have no doubt that he will play first grade at some point in 2026, in my opinion. He had a wower of a game against the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs in a dominant effort in a rain-soaked Accor Stadium last year. He was very good in that game. He was one of the originals. He's one of the OG Dolphins, really, when he was first named. So change of colour, change of scenery for Harrison Graham, and I think he'll get a good, strong handful of first-grade games in 2026. Fletcher Hunt, he made his debut last year, and he's on a development contract in 2026. Yeah, he's a freak up in the air. He's one of the more impressive players that I've seen in a little while to come through and be so threatening aerially. Moving on to the next player now, and Matthew Hunter. He is a recruit from the Parramatta Eels. He made his New South Wales Cup last year for Parramatta. He is a half 5'8", and one has even suggested that he could fill in at fullback at a pinch, but he's going to be a part of the reserve grade team up there in Newcastle in 2026. Just scrolling down to the next one, Connor Vitano. He made his debut at fullback against the Cowboys last year, and there are a couple of nice signs there, but there's a lot of hype around him as well, but unfortunately we didn't see that in his effort against the Cowboys or performance against the Cowboys. So continue to watch Mr. Vitano. And now these last few names are all train and trial. So we've got Mr. Toby Winter. He's a Newcastle-born player, so and he plays at fullback. So that's Toby Winter. And now we've got Kingston Seve. These next two names on the train and trial list are probably the ones that you'll need to look out for more so next year. But if you're a diehard Knights fan, watch these guys in reserve grade.
Plenty of diehard fans.
Or Jersey Flag or SG Ball, wherever they might be. So Kingston Seve, he is a centre. He was part of the Dolphins youth program before being signed on by Newcastle back in July of last year. This is really interesting. It's rare that a 17-year-old is given permission by the NRL to train with an NRL level squad. He is born in November, Mr. Seve, so that's how he was allowed to train with the NRL men over the off-season. So Justin Holbrook and everybody else up at Newcastle said, no, we need to get this fella to train with the big boys because he's a big boy himself. He has been likened to Joseph Suaalii. He is a big, lanky frame at only 17 and a half, 18 years old. There's a lot of hype about him as well. He will play SG ball in 2026, but Holbrook said we're going to get him in 2027, unless if injuries are awful, touch wood that they're not. Maybe it could be, we could see him, but 2027 is where you need to keep an eye on Kingston Seve, but he will be playing SG ball. And then this man here, Aiden Gow, he is a winger, and he has converted from rugby, used to play for the young Waratahs in the rugby, but he only had 9 opportunities in SG ball in 2025, and he scored 20 tries in 9 games for a winger. That is out of control, man. That is amazing from Mr. Aiden Gow. Saw a couple of his highlights. He's got some toe on him for sure. Smart player, did a lot of work from about 20 meters out to beat a few defenders. So very impressive, Aiden Gow and Kingston Seve. But for the immediate, obviously, Fletcher Hunt and Harrison Graham would be the 2 names that I'd say to really look out for in 2026. But for the future, next year particularly, Kingston Seve and Aiden Gow, particularly Seve, watch this space.
Thank you very much, Sam. Yeah, no, some really good names there. And yeah, Seve and Gao look like unbelievable talents. Poor old Connor Vitano had a game to forget, unfortunately, in North Queensland in his debut. So I hope that he'll get another opportunity to rectify that, whether it be in season 2026, pardon me, or in, a season after that. Yeah, I feel terrible for the poor youngster to play one game and it just to be such a rough one. I wish Connor the best, and hopefully he can have a really good season 2026, Sam. But let's keep moving on and let's touch on the draw. And as I always do, Sam, I love my 2026 draw reviews, and then let's get straight into it, mate. So the Knights will be one of the most well-rested teams, Sam, in the competition, with 18 games, or 18 games coming off the back of at least a week. So they've got 18 7+ day turnarounds. So I'm pretty sure that's
number one.
Either the most or tied with all that they've gone, or all the teams that we've gone through thus far, the 9 other teams. They are also going to be Sunday specialists, with the majority of their games in the day on a Sunday. So I guess that's a positive for Newcastle. And look, I think that's great, especially for the people of the Hunter. They turn up regardless of how their team's going. They're always there every single week. That's why I said when you were saying die hard, fans before, Newcastle have got a lot of diehard fans, and you see that on a regular basis. Their team finished last, yet their attendance throughout season 2025 was a lot better than other clubs, Sam. So let's go through the teams that the Knights played twice and the teams they play once. So they play the Raiders, Dragons, Sea Eagles, Rabbitohs, Roosters, Tigers, Titans, Warriors twice. That is a bloody good list. I think we're going back to back very, very good draws. We had a belter for Manly, and I think we're getting a belter here for Newcastle, just quietly, Sam. So the teams they play once are the Broncos, Bulldogs, Cowboys, Dolphins, Eels, Panthers, Sharks, and Storm. A hell of a lot worse as a whole. They have buys in, so they're a bit different to the last few teams that we've covered, Sam. They don't really have an early buy round. They've got 2 sort of scrunched together, and then they have a buy in the last round. So that, as you can see on the graphic to our right, they've got buys in round 12 and 15 during that origin period, which could be beneficial for the likes of Kalen Ponga, Bradman Best, etc. Probably just those 2, to be honest, in origin period. And then they have a buy in round 27, which is the final round of the 2026 season, Sam. So anything you want to say? I know you really like to look at the run home, so I'm happy to have a look at that right now with you, mate, before I give the final verdict and go through the games that the Knights play against the 2025 top 8 and bottom 9 teams.
Yes, sir. So the Newcastle Knights' first buy isn't until round number 12. It's not the longest wait for the first buy, I'm sure, but it's one of the longest ones in the competition for sure. So that is a taxing first 12 weeks, including the trip to Las Vegas and a trip to Suncorp as well for Magic Round. But you're right. Yes, I do. I find it fascinating and very important to look at the runs to the finals for every single team, which starts in round number 20. And the Knights have got it hard. They've got 3 home games inside the final 7 weeks of the competition. They start off with a game against the Sharkies at Shark Park. They host the Roosters. Then they're on the road in back-to-back weeks, one against the Broncos, the other against the Raiders. They're then home against the Gold Coast Titans, who, well, the Titans have had their measure over the past year or 2. Then they host the Manly Sea Eagles on Old Boys Day, and Manly, even though they lost there last year, Manly have commanded the Newcastle Knights over the years. And then their final game of season 2026, even though with one round remaining, because of that bye in the round 27, is a trip to Auckland to take on the Warriors over there at Go Media Stadium. So they're taking on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams that were inside the top 6 for 2025 in that run to the finals. And I expect those teams to be just as strong as what they were in 2025. So again, as I always say, if Newcastle Knights, if they're to feature in finals footy and they need to amass some wins in the run to the finals, that's one of the more difficult draws that I think I've seen since we've started doing these season podcasts. Or that's a pretty tough run for a team that finished with the wooden spoon last year.
Look, in all seriousness, Sam, it's the only issue with the draw is probably the finish, because it is a beautiful draw. And the only ways up for the Knights, Sam, can't go any further down than the wooden spoon or in last place. So, and they've been handed a draw, Sam, to make that happen, to go up the ladder. The majority of their games are against bottom 9 teams from this year and from last year in 2025. And the only top 4 team they play twice is the Raiders that I alluded to before. The Knights also have plenty of rest, like I said just before, with between matches, with 18 games on the back of at least 7 days between hitouts. And, with a new coach, a lot of new faces in the team, a lot of time in between games, a few more training sessions than some other teams, could be massive for the Newcastle Knights. So the Knights, in regards to their whole draw as a whole, teams that they play against that finished in the top 8 and bottom 9 from season 2025. So they versed 12 top 8 teams throughout their 2026 draw. They versed 5 top 4 teams. They versed 12 bottom 9 teams and 6 bottom 4 teams. They have 1 5-day turnaround, 4 6-day turnarounds, but the big one, like we alluded to before, 18 7+ day turnarounds, which is massive. I've only given 2 A's out. It's about to be 3. That is an A for the Newcastle Knights for the draw for season 2026. They also have trial games against the Dragons and the Bulldogs before they head over to Vegas. So it'd be interesting. Sam and I did touch on this as well. It'll be interesting to see how Newcastle go about which game they play their full strength team out of those 2 games. Sometimes they've played the first game their full strength, and then the second one is their weaker side. But then sometimes some other teams in previous years, because Vegas has been going for a few years now, have decided to play a weaker side in the first game, and then the game just before they go over to America, they decide to play their full strength one. So it'll be interesting to see what happens from the Raiders in regards to that, Sam. But bloody hell, it's a really nice draw. Yes, the finish is a bit tough, but otherwise it is a very, very nice draw for Newcastle. Do I think it's better than Manly? And I think the other one might have been the
Dolphins.
Pretty sure I'm just going up. I'm pretty sure it was the Dolphins. Do I think it's better than them? I honestly, the Dolphins have 13 7-day plus turnarounds, and Manly have 17, 14 against bottom 9, 7 against the bottom 4. I think Manly's draw is better, but it's definitely a top 3 draw for the Newcastle Knights for the teams that we've gone through. So 10 teams now, top 3 draw thus far for the Newcastle Knights. So you can't say that the AI ruined your season 2026, because the AI has been beautiful to you. You'd probably only, I guess, one thing you'd ask for is maybe at the end there, rounds 21 to 23, sort of space them out, not have those 3 all together as your opposition over 3 weeks. But hey, it is what it is. You can't get everything. Really good draw for the Newcastle Knights in season 2026. Now let's get to the nitty gritty, the team list. And mine is a bit different to yours, Sam. A few surprises in my team. I've got Kalen Ponga. There's no surprises there at the back. I've got Dominic Young and Greg Marzu on the wings. I've got the gay guy, Dane Gagai, and Brabham Best in the centres. Here's my first surprise. I have Dylan Brown and I have Fletcher Sharp at halfback. Latest reports out of Newcastle have Dylan Brown playing 5'8". Tyson Frizzell also confirmed that in a media interview in this week. To be honest, it'll be last week from when this podcast comes out. But yes, Tyson Frizzell confirmed that Dylan Brown will be at 6, and I have reports from Newcastle that it is a two-way battle between Fletcher Sharp and Sandon Smith, who have both been spending time at halfback for Newcastle. I am going with Sharp. Reason being is I have Sandon Smith being more versatile than Fletcher Sharp in regards to what I was alluding to before when you're saying, are you looking at your spine or your hooker, Sam? I think Sandon Smith will play a bit of hooker in season 2026. That was also rumored. I don't know if you remember the talks before Sandon Smith put pen to paper in Newcastle that he could potentially play hooker for a team that he was going to. I think that could happen. Do I see Fletcher Sharp staying there? I don't know. Fletcher Sharp's a quality young footballer. His best position is definitely fullback. So if something happens to Ponga, he'll be straight back to fullback, Sandon Smith to halfback, and then they'll probably bring, maybe a Harrison Graham or something on the bench, or a Tyson Gamble onto the bench there. But that's what I'm going with. I'm going with Sharpedo and Brown, and what an exciting halves partnership that will be. Do I think it will work? I really hope so for Newcastle fans, but we will wait and see. Certainly will be exciting. Phoenix Crosland will be my hooker. We've got Jacob Saifidi and the man that I alluded to before that will be, taking Leo Thompson's position and doing a hell of a job will be Trey Mooney in at prop. I've got, spoiler alert, my breakout player, Jermaine McEwen and Dylan Lucas as the back row for the Newcastle Knights. And then I've got Tyson Frizzell there at lock. We saw Tyson Frizzell move and play a lot more lock in season 2025, more in the middle of the park. I expect that continue as Tyson Frizzell gets on in his career, Sam. I've got Sandon Smith, like I alluded to before, in jersey 14. I've got Thomas Cant there on the bench. We saw Tom come in and do a hell of a job when Dylan Lucas went out with injury. So I expect Cant to come on and, provide a bit of help there for those back rowers if required. He can also play in the middle and at lock as well, Thomas Cant. Matt Croker, he'll play in the middle. He'll be a prop. Very versatile player, Matt Croker. But he just goes about his business at 110 kilometers an hour. He does not ease up at all. It is full gas, no brakes with Matt Croker. He is a hell of a player, and he is only going to continue, in his probably like third or fourth season in the NRL. So he'll be much better for it this year. And then I've got Brodie Jones. Brodie Jones there in jersey 17, Sam. We've seen Brodie Jones. He played a lot more middle in season 2025 that he did in season 2. Well, in previous seasons, he sort of come in and played on the edge there, but I think he's bulked up a bit, and I think he is going to be helping in the middle. Could I see someone like a Pasami Saulo or a Peter Holler or something like that come in, play on the bench instead of, say, Brodie Jones or Cant? For sure. But this is what I'm going with in round one, a very fit, versatile team. Yes, doesn't have the biggest team of boppers, but a team full of hard workers, Sam. I've got Gamble there in jersey 18 to provide utility. I was close to putting Harrison Graham, but I just went for Tyson Gamble there. You could probably play Tyson Gamble at lock. He's that big of a body if you need to. So I've got him there. I've got Basami Solo coming back to Newcastle. I've got him there. He is just a big body, Sam, and I expect him to play some football for the Newcastle Knights, like I alluded to before, in season 2026. And the last man, Fletcher Hunt. He was outstanding. He will come in if there's probably I'd move Sharp to fullback if something happens to Ponga, but something to the wingers or something like that. I think Fletcher Hunt will be in, and that is my 1-20 for round one against the Cowboys in Vegas. Sam, what are you going for? What are you expecting for your Cowboys to come up in round one against these Newcastle Knights, Sam?
Nothing easy, that's for freaking sure. But this is how I think they're going to line up, or how I would line up anyway. Ponga, Dominic Young, and Fletcher Sharp is the other winger. I know that Justin Holbrook has said, no, he's not going to be doing that. But I personally prefer the halves combination of Dylan Brown and Sandon Smith at halfback. You remember Sandon Smith's Anzac Day efforts last year, one of the best individual performances of 2025. He was absolutely outstanding in that game. He really was. Dylan Brown in at 5'8". We should talk about the combinations shortly, but you got to find a spot for Fletcher Sharp. You do, and I know that Greg Marzhew is handed an awful hand by me, and he'd be off me seeking exit from Newcastle if I was the coach, but I've got Greg Marzhew sitting out for Fletcher Sharp. You've got to have Sharp in there somewhere, and I think I can only stick him on the wing there. Then we're pretty much the same in the starting front row, and then there's a random one from me here, but it's a personal one. I have always liked the work of Asu Kapoa. He made his debut with the West Tigers, went over to Penrith Panthers. The bloke is only 25, 26 years old. It feels like he's been around forever, but I really like the work that Kapoa gets through. And I know Jermaine McEwen is a very impressive young man, and you've just said that he's going to be your breakout player. And I think that come, halfway through the year, I think that is going to swap. I think McEwen will be starting sooner rather than later. But I just like the defense and the size that Asu Kapoa offers, and I think he just will steal things up. Not the world's best running meter eater, but I think I am putting him in there to start in Vegas, just more so for his defense, his size, in my opinion. And then Dylan Lucas and Tyson Frizzell in at lock. And then my interchange, I am bringing Harrison Graham straight in. I know Phoenix Crossland could probably play 80 minutes every single week if the reins were unlocked for him, but it wouldn't be good for him. So I think, with much due respect to Matt Arthur, who is on the Knights squad and is a hooker himself, I just think Harrison Graham has that NRL experience to help come off the bench. Then the rest of the pack, Matt Croker, very impressive. The day that he debuted, he's been very impressive, Matt Croker. Basami Solo, I am bringing on. I just think that while you've got Brody Jones there, and he's a big bugger himself, I think Basami Solo, he's an enormous human being, and this forward pack does need more size. And Basami Solo should have played a little bit more at the Canberra Raiders, I feel, as well. And I think he's going to get a hell of a lot of game time this year. And then Jermaine McEwen does make my 17 in at jersey 17. But again, I say that I think Jermaine McEwen will absolutely be the starting second row option sooner rather than later. Just for this game, I'd like to see Asu Kapoa debut for the Knights at second row and just be a defensive rock for them. And then my 18 to 20 is Tyson Gamble, Fletcher Hunt, and Greg Marzhew. Dude, so I don't know anything about Fletcher Sharp as a halfback. You've got him wearing jersey number 7. I don't know anything about his kicking game, Like I cannot really recall if he has got a kicking game or not. You've got Sandon Smith there, and he's almost like he could be the next Phoenix Crossland 2.0 sort of thing. Like, Crossland was a halfback originally, but he's been shape shifted. He's been molded into this hooker. I don't want to see the same thing for Sandon Smith, to be perfectly honest. I want to see him play his best natural game, which is in the halves. I don't want to see him. I'm sure he's played hooker before, but I don't want to see him learn a new role. I want to see him go to Newcastle, be that predominant halfback that the Knights have been crying out for a really long time now. And if that comes at the expense of Fletcher Sharp playing out on the sting for a bit, then so be it. But I think that this is the best halves combination possible for the Newcastle Knights in 26.
I just don't know where else you can fit Fletcher Sharp. For me, I can't drop any of the back five. I can't drop any of the back five for Fletcher Sharp. So the only spot I could find is at 7. It's nothing against Sandon Smith. I do agree with you wholeheartedly that I reckon Sandon Smith and Dylan Brown is definitely the better combination, but it's round 1 and it's in Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Could we see one round of Fletcher Sharp at halfback and then he never play halfback again? Absolutely, we could. It's Vegas. You got to put all your cards in, Sam, and have a bit of luck and take a bit of a punt. And that's what I'm going with my team. I do believe Sandon Smith will be the 7 moving forward, but my questions do lie with where the hell does Fletcher Sharp fit into this team with such an astute back line. I probably agree with you. If I had to drop one of them, it is Greg Marzu. But then the reports out of Newcastle are saying that they don't want Fletcher Sharp to play on the wing, and he's not playing on the wing. So I'm like, I don't know what to make of it all. Yeah, what? Like where? If it's not on the wing, you're not replacing Gagai, who's been one of the Knights' best players the last 2 seasons and a representative player in Bradman Best in the centers. You've got Ponga at fullback, who's on basically the same amount of coin as Dylan Brown. He's not going anywhere. Dom Young's been good again. He's always been good in Newcastle. He was good when he came back from the Roosters last season in the mid-season transfer. I don't know. It is honestly the biggest talking point for Newcastle is what the hell or where the hell does Fletcher Sharp play in season 2026, Sam? So, look, we could talk about this for ages, especially you and I. So let's keep moving on, or otherwise.
No, well, hang on. Go back just for a tick. Go back to the team list just for a sec. Whatever one. What do you think about the spine overall? I don't think it's
which variety.
Well, no, touche. No, let's just go with this one.
Yeah, I like the spine.
It's not a bad spine, man.
No, any spine with bloody Dylan Brown and Kalen Ponga is not too bad, and the other 2 players aren't horrible ones either. Phoenix Crosland, very hard worker, Sam, and you've also got Sandon Smith, who can provide that quality, a good running game, good kicking game, takes the line on. It's not a horrible spine at all. Is it the best spine? Absolutely not. Is it a good spine? Absolutely it is. It is a good spine, and it will be the key to Newcastle not finishing in the bottom spots if they are to go beyond or potentially make the 8. That would be the reason why, is the spine, and they would all need to stay healthy, and they would all need to be playing quality football, like the football we saw from Sandon Smith in season 2025 there for the Roosters when he got his opportunity, back to Kalen Ponga and his Daly M year, with Dylan Brown playing like he did in the Pac Champs, and Phoenix Crosland. I don't need much more from him. Just maybe clean up a bit of his work in the ruck. Otherwise, that's it for me. I think it's a pretty astute, spine for the Newcastle Knights. That's not their problem, in my opinion. All right, I'll continue moving forward to my man, Mr. McEwen. He is my breakout player. With the departure of Kai Pearce-Paul, I don't hate Asu Kapoa, But from what I saw from Jermaine McEwen in season 2025, I send my respect to Asu Kapoa, but he will not be passing this man in season 2026 from what I saw in season 2025. If Holbrook gives McEwen the same opportunity that Adam O'Brien did, look at him. He is looking absolutely mighty fit, and I can't wait to see him be playing big minutes on the edge for the Newcastle Knights. So a bit about Jermaine McEwen. He's basically, he was awarded the SG Ball Cup Player of the Year, Sam Award in 2023. And he's also represented the New South Wales Blues in under 19 Origin as well. If you follow your NRLW like Sam and I, he is the brother of Eva McEwen that plays for the Newcastle Knights. And if he is anything, if he plays anything like Evan McEwen, oh mate, he's locked in that that Newcastle Knights 1-13 team every single week. She is a hell of a player. He made his debut in round 3 of last year, and he signed on till the end of the 2027 campaign. So look, let's absolutely just not look at that win percentage there. It is a measly 12%. Let's just look at the 16 games that he was able to get in his debut season, Sam. The big things I'm looking at here, look, tackle efficiency, very good, just under 90%. And I'm seeing this. This is definitely going to be, this is the point I want to bring up, this 77 run meters a game. With this opportunity now with Kai Pearce-Paul moving to the West Tigers, that 77 runs a game with more minutes is going to increase. I think he'll be pushing close to around 90 to 100 a game, I reckon, Jermaine McEwen, with a better spine. The spine that Newcastle can field this season is 10 times better than what they could field last season. And that is even when all their players are healthy. Dylan Brown and Sandon Smith, one hell of an upgrade, with the utmost respect to all of those other players that we listed for the Newcastle spine in season 2026. And if you think about it, Sam, who are the players that benefit the most from having a really good spine combination? It's the second rowers. They get that early pill. They get that isolated rock on a smaller halves player. They can break straight through and create an opportunity for either Ponga on the inside or whatever side he's on, Gagai, Best, Marzu or Young, outside players opportunity, Sam. I think Jermaine McEwen is going to be absolutely unbelievable in season 2026. As you can see, I'm very high on him. Jermaine, if you want to beat Makasini, though, as one of my big breakout players, you need to follow me and give me some likes as well. Like Mr. Makasini, I didn't ask for that. But Mr. Makasini must have been listening to the podcast, because he came through with some likes this morning. But Jermaine McEwen, Sam, I am very, very much looking forward to this young man develop into a 1-13 player on a regular basis for the Newcastle Knights, and be someone that Newcastle fans can say, yeah, this guy is a lock. He is one of the first players named in my team, and he is going to form one hell of a combination with his other second row forward, Dylan Lucas, who is probably, like, if I think of Newcastle, the first person I probably put on the list is hardest worker, easy lock is Dylan Lucas. He is an absolute gun, and I can't wait to see McEwen and Lucas go about their business in season 2026. I'll pass it over to you, and you've got Mr. Trey Mooney coming up from the Canberra Raiders, Sam, taking that Leo Thompson role, and you've got him as your breakout player. I think it's a great choice, mate.
Yeah, I do, mate. He, former New South Wales under-19s representative, has played, a couple of, what am I saying here? About 40 plus games for the Canberra Raiders, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But he's got enough experience there. And Trey Mooney, 25 games, sorry. But no, Trey Mooney finally has the opportunity to do what everybody has been hoping that he would, to make a stamp on a first grade team, and by starting, I think he will be starting every single game alongside Jacob Saifidi as well. He's got a mean offload on him as well. One of his standout performances was in that elimination final against, funnily enough, the Newcastle Knights. I thought that Mooney was very impressive, who was a late inclusion into that Kemper Raiders team that famous day in Newcastle. But Trey Mooney, it's all there for him. He signed a 4-year deal starting this year, and I think he's going to be a mainstay, and probably at this rate, I know Jacob Saifidi's there, but and Frizzell is sort of in the twilight of his career. I think that if he can do wonders in 2026, I think he will be the leader of this forward pack sooner rather than later, Dor.
Yeah, like you can see his numbers here, Sam. He didn't get as much opportunity in season 2025 that I just had up and just got rid of. I only played the 4 games there, but the big thing I'm seeing is this 90 run meters average, which is the highest that it has been of his career. Now think of it with an opportunity. Now think of it with, you know, regular minutes playing for the Newcastle Knights every single week. He's going to average at least, I reckon, 110 meters a game, Trey Mooney, with the opportunity. I don't know what he's priced in Supercoach and Fantasy, but I honestly think he's a great get because their opportunity is very much there, and especially with the lack of depth in the forwards that Sam and I have spoken about, especially the middle forwards. The edges are not too bad. They got Brodie Jones, Thomas Kant. There's plenty of other edges that they can utilize. But for me, the middle forwards, there's not as many, you know, a bit of inexperience, you know, like Pasami Saulo is a huge body, but he's not Trey Mooney. Neither is Peter Holler and other players. So, yeah, I think that he is going to be outstanding. It could be one of the buyers of the year, I think, in regards to, you know, his consistent performances on a weekly basis for the Newcastle Knights. So, yeah, I wish Trey Mooney all the best, but I think these are 2 really good breakout players, and I wish these two men all the best in season 2026, Sam. Now, let's move to the jerseys. Yes, this is not players. Newcastle went about their way with their jersey release a bit different and got some, you know, what would you say, influencers, Sam, to come and, you know, fans. Get some fans, people that, you know, plead their love for Newcastle on a weekly basis, whether it be on social media. That's basically where it is happening on social media. But let's just talk about the jerseys here, Sam. What are your thoughts on them? I reckon at least they're consistent in regards to they're both stripes. The colors are a bit different. The sponsor integration. Yes, it's not good. I don't like the sponsor integration at all. I do believe it is also a bit too high up. I think Sam mentioned that with the Manly away jersey yesterday. The sponsorship being too high up close to the logos rather than, say, like the middle of the jersey. And then it's also just the color just does not go at all. That green, I'm sorry, NIB, but that green just does not go. Like, surely you could have turned it like white or blue or red or something. It just does not work. Do I hate the jersey? I don't hate the jersey, Sam. Do I love them? No, I absolutely don't love them. I'd say they're probably like the meh or all right to maybe a bit of the, you know, bad side, but it's more that NIB thing. I just can't unsee it. I'm still looking at it right now, and it's giving me nightmares looking at it. It just does not look good at all. I think if I've got to pick one out of the 2 that I prefer, I think it would be the home jersey just because of that red and blue. I don't know, the white and the red, like smaller line with the big blue bit. I don't know. I think I prefer the home jersey, Sam. What about you, mate?
Mate, I wonder what your opinion is of the Knights jersey the past couple of years, bro, because I think this is much better. I think this is a much better jersey than what they've been donning for the past few years. But the issue with the NIB integration still remains. It is down there with the lottery office for the Gold Coast Titans, admittedly. And I think that you're correct. Like, it should be
What about
all white
UBC
font.
or whatever it
You,
was for Manly? You were
oh,
not happy with that
URM.
one.
I wasn't
Yeah,
happy
you were
with
not.
that one either. But
No.
we're talking about Newcastle now, bro. And I got to say, I agree with you. I think the home jersey is better. I think that just that white on the away jersey highlights the NIB sponsorship logo even more. So I do prefer the home jersey in that aspect. But I think this is a much better effort in comparison to years past, Dor. So I don't hate it. I don't love it as well. It's just there in the middle, man.
Yeah. So not the worst, Newcastle, but up there with one of the worst sponsor integrations. NIB, if you're listening, please can you fix that? Much and greatly appreciated by Dor and Sam. Now, it's unfortunately it comes time to our ladder predictions and the 2026 campaign for Newcastle. I think it's going to be good for a lot of players because they're going to get a lot of NRL experience in season 2026 and definitely be better for the run of it. But I am just Kalen Ponga the last few seasons, Sam, has not played a full season in at least like a fair few years. He's been injury riddled. If the Knights lose Ponga, it's a lot of trouble. They do have Fletcher Sharp there, and they do have a better spine, like I alluded to before, but it's the forwards for me. The forwards are just, I'm really worried about the Knights forward pack. You know, Tyson Frizzell's, a quality player, but he's well at the back end of his career, with the utmost respect to Tyson Frizzell. I love the Newcastle second row. If it is indeed Jermaine McEwen and Dylan Lucas, I don't hate Phoenix Crosland, but is he like a top like 10 hooker in the comp? No, he's not. And my real concern is the go forward for the Knights. I love their back line. It's just the back line. Look, I don't want to compare to, like, say, the Broncos or my team, but it's like if you look at the Broncos, it's the work from the forwards that provide that provide the early quick play the ball and provide the time and space for the back line to go about their business. There is a hell of a lot of pressure on the likes of the man Sam spoke about before, Trey Mooney and Jacob Saifidi, to remain the utmost fit and firing on a week-to-week basis, because they are going to be carrying this forward pack in regards to the go forward work that is going to be required. Yes, you've got some strike on the edge with McEwen and Lucas, but Frizzell's not going to be, making a truckload of meters. It's going to rely heavily on Saifidi and Mooney. And just for me, I just worry. I worry about that Newcastle forward pack. I really like some of the youngsters that we've touched on in this podcast, like the Fletcher Hunts, Kyle McCarthy's, Jermaine McEwen, some really quality youngsters, Sam. But I'm sorry, Newcastle. Like, I absolutely adore Newcastle with your fans. Like, you Newcastle supporters turn up every single week, and it hasn't been pretty in Newcastle for a long time, but you guys still show up every single week, and I take my hat off to you guys for that. But I unfortunately am predicting a pretty rough first year under Justin Holbrook. I think Justin Holbrook is a good coach. He's probably been the Titans' one of the best coaches that the Titans had, and probably got rid of him too soon if I'm being completely serious. But unfortunately, I'm so sorry, but I've got to just go with my gut. And I think that unfortunately Newcastle Knights will finish 14th to 17th. And I would, with the utmost respect, probably fall off my chair if the Knights were to make the top 8. I would think that I would be absolutely blown away if Newcastle made the top 8. Do I see them pushing up to maybe like a 10th or 11th or around that sort of, sort of part of the field? Yeah, of course. But I am concerned. There is a lot of concerns, especially with this. They don't even know where Fletcher Sharp's going to play. And it's, is it like, it's just all up in the air. And I wish Newcastle all the best. I hope I'm completely wrong for you guys, but it's 14th, 17th for me, Sam.
Ooh, alrighty. I don't have the Knights finishing with the wooden spoon in 2026. They're not my wooden spooners. I would not be surprised if they finished outside of this bracket, as you said, somewhere around the 11th position. I can see that because their backline on paper is pretty freaking good, man. If all of them click 1 down through to 7, there's attack for days, bro. But it is the concern does lie in that forward pack, doesn't it? It really does. Besides your starting front rowers and maybe Pasami Solo, there's not really a big bopper of note. And that's with due respect to Matt Croker, who I think is a very, very good player, and the rest of them as well. Like there's somebody named Cody Hopwood, who is a New South Wales under-19s representative, and he's got a lot of hype about him. He does look good. He's got a massive frame on him, and he did make his debut last year. I think it was unfortunately in that Parramatta game, but so there's some youngsters still to come through, so they're not quite ready for first grade. That's the issue as well. But also, combinations are going to take a hell of a long time, man. And
100%.
Sandon Smith and Dylan Brown, I think, will take a little while. So I think it could be a slow start. But if it's going to be a slow start, and then you look at their run to the finals where they take on Broncos, Roosters, Raiders, and Warriors and Sharks inside that final 7-ish weeks, that's a very tall order for a team that finished with a wooden spoon last year. And this is a bit of a harsh shot at Dylan Brown as well. But it wasn't just last year; it was also the year before, where I thought Dylan Brown just went MIA just way too often, and his best skill is defense, and that dropped off a fraction in 2025. But Dylan Brown could only do what he did in the Pacific Championships because of the forward pack that he had in front of him in James Fisher-Harris and Joe Tarpany and X, Y, and Z, Moses Leota. You're working with Trey Mooney and Jacob Saifidi, both big boppers with some mongrel in them, good talent. But is Dylan Brown going to be able to replicate that form? Well, time will tell. We will find out soon. But Dylan Brown's coming into this season, besides the Pacific Championships, he's coming into 2026 not in a great deal of form, to be honest with you, man. And to work this new partnership with Sandon Smith and Kalen Ponga and this forward pack, it's not that I don't trust Dylan Brown. I just don't know. I don't know what Dylan Brown will be like. And at that pay packet, he's got to be Pacific Championship form. The likes of a Bradman Best need to see more consistency from him. That's always been his biggest issue in my eyes. Like, he'll string together 3 or 4 games in a row where he's just a tear away, but then he drops off, and then there's an injury. So I want to see more consistent top level footy from Bradman Best. Honestly, that's what I really hope to see in 26. And Kalen Ponga, I mean, if it wasn't for Kalen Ponga last year, the Knights probably lose 2 more games than what their record was or is from 2025. There's a lot of questions, isn't there? And I don't have them as wooden spooners because that back line it looks so good, man. It looks really, really good. And I like Phoenix Crossland at hooker. I do. But they're working from down the well sort of thing again. And while I don't think they'll be wooden spooners, I think, unfortunately, just because the close, tight-knit battle that is to make the top 8 every single year competition. I just don't think that they'll climb too much higher than 14th or 15th in 2026 Door.
Yeah, we hope we're wrong, Newcastle fans. Yeah, we hope we're wrong for you guys, but we've just got to go with our gut, and that's what it's saying. So thank you so much, everyone, for watching this Newcastle 2026 season preview, with obviously a touch of the 2025 campaign as well. Thank you so much, Sam, for once again joining me, my good friend. And thank you, everyone, for watching and or listening. Make sure, if you haven't done so already, to make sure you subscribe to Wobble and Jaw Sports or the All Out Club on YouTube. Give this podcast a lovely like. And then also follow us on social media as well. Sam's is just under Wobble and Jaw Sports. Ours is on the logo to the right there. You can see All Out NRL Fantasy. Might be changing to All Out NRL eventually, because we do cover everything there. If you don't like fantasy, well, that's absolutely all right. We cover absolutely everything: injuries, news, everything up to date. It is all there, the one-stop shop for NRL. So yeah, come and give us a like and a follow, and do the same with Semi Boy as well, with the Wobble.
Thank you, Dor. Thank you, everyone.
No problems. All right. Remember, your team could be next. Episode 11 is coming up, and I did not give a little teaser for this one at all in this episode, thankfully. So it will be a surprise. But yes, episode 11 is coming your way soon, and it could be your club. So thanks again. Thank you so much, Sam. And we'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.